Skyline Stories official channel subscriptions. Daniel stared at Victoria's pale face with growing concern. Ms. Kane? No response. Victoria? That finally reached her. She blinked. Hard. As if trying to separate memory from reality. Because suddenly she wasn't standing beside a catering truck. She was 17 again. Sitting on a lake dock beside Ethan Reed. Laughing. Planning futures. Dreaming impossible dreams. And now his son was standing in front of her. His son. The realization felt unreal. Then Victoria swallowed carefully. Your father. Her voice almost failed. When did he pass away? Daniel's expression softened immediately. The way people soften when speaking about someone they miss. 9 years ago. The answer hurt more than she expected. Because a tiny irrational part of her had imagined something else. That Ethan was alive. Happy. Somewhere. That maybe one day she'd accidentally see him again. Now that possibility vanished forever. Then Daniel noticed the grief in her eyes. And for the first time, he looked genuinely curious. You knew him. Not a question. A realization. Victoria nodded slowly. Once. Silence settled between them. Then Daniel asked softly. How well? Victoria laughed quietly. A sad laugh. The kind of well you only know someone when you're young. That answer seemed to make sense to him. Then she looked toward the swallow tattoo again. Your father never told you where that design came from? Daniel shook his head. He said it reminded him of freedom. Victoria smiled despite herself. That sounded exactly like Ethan. Then softly she added. He designed it for 2 people. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? For a moment she considered avoiding the truth. First time little Sophie said it, nobody paid attention. Including the woman she said it to. Which was understandable. Because Victoria Kane, CEO of Kane Industries, was in the middle of hosting a charity gala attended by senators, celebrities, and some of the wealthiest people in the country. The ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers. Cameras flashed constantly. Reporters crowded every corner. And Victoria, as always, moved through the room with effortless confidence. 37 years old. Brilliant. Successful. And completely focused on work. At least that's what everyone believed. Then a small voice interrupted a conversation with investors. Excuse me. Victoria looked down. Standing beside her was a little girl in a blue dress holding a plate overloaded with chocolate cake. Maybe 6 years old. 7 at most. Victoria smiled politely. Hello. The girl stared at her arm. Specifically at the small tattoo partially visible beneath the sleeve of her evening gown. Then came the sentence. My dad has a tattoo exactly like yours. Victoria blinked. Oh. The child nodded enthusiastically. Same bird. Victoria glanced at the tattoo instinctively. A tiny swallow. Simple. Elegant. Nothing unusual. Thousands of people probably had similar designs. Then she smiled. That's quite a coincidence. The little girl looked unconvinced. No. What do you mean? It's exactly the same. Then before Victoria could respond, a man hurried across the ballroom. Tall. Dark hair. Wearing a catering uniform. Clearly embarrassed. Sophie. The girl brightened immediately. Dad. The man reached them and sighed. Sorry, ma'am. His expression carried the exhausted patience unique to single parents. She's curious about everything. Victoria smiled faintly. It's fine. Then Sophie pointed dramatically. See? The man followed her finger toward Victoria's tattoo. And instantly froze. Completely froze. For one terrifying second, all color vanished from his face. Victoria noticed immediately. Because that wasn't surprise. That was shock. Real shock. Then the catering worker recovered quickly. Too quickly. Sorry. He grabbed Sophie's hand gently. We should get back to work. The little girl protested. But Dad. Now, bug. Something in his voice ended the discussion. Sophie sighed dramatically and allowed herself to be led away. But before disappearing into the crowd, she looked back toward Victoria. Still confused. Still curious. And somehow, Victoria couldn't stop thinking about it. An hour later, the gala continued. But Victoria found herself distracted. The catering worker. His reaction. The way he froze. The way he immediately removed his daughter from the conversation. Something felt wrong. Or familiar. She couldn't decide which. Then her assistant approached. Everything okay? Victoria hesitated. Then quietly asked. The caterer with the little girl. The assistant looked surprised. Daniel Reed? So that was his name. What about him? How long has he worked these events? The assistant checked a tablet. About 2 years. Victoria nodded slowly. Find out more. By midnight, the gala ended. Most guests left. Staff began cleaning. And Victoria should have gone home. Instead she sat alone in her office staring at a photograph. Not of Daniel. Of herself. 20 years earlier. Age 17. Standing beside another teenager. A boy. Smiling. Both of them laughing at something outside the frame. And on the boy's forearm. A tiny swallow tattoo. Exactly matching hers. Victoria's stomach tightened. Because only 2 people in the world were supposed to have that design. Her. And him. Ethan Reed. Her first love. The boy she'd planned an entire future around. Until life happened. College. Distance. Misunderstandings. Loss. And eventually separation. 20 years. No contact. No answers. Nothing. Then suddenly another detail hit her. Reed. Daniel Reed. The same last name. Coincidence? Maybe.